right, count us on it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, how are you? It's Chris Lawrence, and we're here at the Texas Theater on, of all nights, Academy Award night. We're here because, look, I know a lot of you are at home watching this on TV, but there's a pretty special place right here in Dallas, the Texas Theater, where a lot of people are going to be coming tonight to actually watch the awards on the big screen. It's part of the Oak Cliff Film Festival. Has invited all these folks out. They've got popcorn, food. They get a chance to sort of see movies being celebrated in the same place where you would normally come to watch a movie. I've always been a huge film buff. Going back to when I was a teenager, loved old films from the 50s, 60s, 70s, love contemporary films. In fact, there's, not much better way I could think of than spending a day than to just go see a movie in the theater. The thing about this year, I think, is it's an interesting mix of some smaller art house films and some fairly bigger blockbusters by some pretty well-known directors starring some pretty big stars. I've got my own personal favorites. I'll be the first to admit I have not seen every single Academy Award nominated film, but I've seen a fair bit, and hopefully tonight we'll get a chance to speak to some folks who've seen some of the movies maybe that I haven't been able to catch. Not sure what your favorites are, but there are a couple I'm pulling for. Definitely pulling for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Love the movie, love the aesthetic, love the way it put you in Los Angeles in the late 60s, the look, the feel of everything. It's sort of a piece of LA that we don't see very often. LA feels very contemporary, and what Quentin Tarantino did is he took us back to in LA before the gridlock and the traffic, when the studio movie system was still sort of in high gear but starting to fall apart, and just before you had this wave of incredible directors in the 70s come in and sort of change Hollywood forever. So I love that movie. I love what Joaquin Phoenix did in Joker. If you are not a fan of superhero films, I am a big fan of them, but if you're not, this is not your typical superhero film. It is dark. It is a very internal film where it's putting you in the mind of this very troubled man and seeing how he sort of transforms over the course of a movie. So those are a couple of my favorites. I'm going to bring in Melissa and Andrew. They're out here to see some of the movies. So first of all, thank you guys for joining us. Want to get your take. What movie or performance kind of really resonated with you so far?
I really liked Parasite in 1917. I really loved the cinematography on that.
And what about you, Andrew?
Just so I don't say Parasite again, I really love Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Joker.
Okay.
That was pretty incredible. I thought all the acting in 1917 was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Let me ask you, what was it about Parasite? And for those of you who don't know, again, this was a movie probably not widely seen by American audiences, and it's sort of unusual in that there have been foreign films before, but this is a movie, made in Korea, correct? And sort of brought here to the U.S. What was so special about it that really spoke to you?
I just really liked it. It was pretty cool for a foreign language film. It was pretty, epic.
For those of you who haven't seen it, just give the basic premise. What was it about, basically?
Basically, it's about this family. They're pretty poor, and they go to work for this richer family, and they end up ripping them off.
It has a lot of, when you think about the income inequality and some of the things that people talk about here in the United States, it really it speaks to that as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. And you were talking about also a movie that I had mentioned, which is Joker. Not your typical superhero film.
No, definitely. I don't consider it a superhero film.
Yeah.
I don't think it totally is, but yeah, I mean,
it's an anti-hero movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely an anti-hero movie.
Yeah, definitely. I've it's like the taxi driver of our generation. So it's definitely different and unique. And Joaquin Phoenix is great in everything he does. So it's awesome.
That's an interesting analogy, going back to the 70s with obviously Robert De Niro and Taxi Driver. Yeah. And sort of this idea that here's a man who's just been like, so much has been put on him, and you can sort of, throughout the movie in Joker, you can feel sort of the pressure building.
It's like
And,
an angry white man scenario.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And you sort of see him, you start to see him crack over the course of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning, like it starts off slow, but it's just like a slow decay into him becoming Joker, and I think it's like a reverse way to tell a character's origin story, but they do it like spot on, like exactly the way it should be. So, yeah.
So do you like Joker? Do you also like Joaquin Phoenix for Best Actor?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah.
What about you?
I was like, he's won everything, but I don't know.
Do you make a difference between who you predict will win versus who you're rooting for? Do you have any of those differences in your picks tonight?
Yeah, for sure. It's like I was going through my ballot tonight, and I was like, okay, so what have I seen win other things, and what do I want to win?
What were some differences there?
It's like between like 1917, Little Women should have been definitely nominated for more things, I think.
And what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, the same thing. Like, I think Renee Zellweger will win. I think she will win, but I think someone else should win. But that's just my opinion.
Who do you think should win?
Let's see. Who else is up there?
I was trying to remember who else.
I'm trying to remember now.
nominated.
Who else is nominated for Best Actress? I think Scarlett Johansson is nominated. I think for Marriage Story, I thought that was really impactful. She does a lot of like superhero Marvel movies, but I think she really branched out into something very unique and a very hard story to tell. So I think for that she should win, but I'm happy with both. So yeah.
It's funny, when I think of Marriage Story, I also think I always tend to give people a little bit more credit, if that's the right word, when they don't really have the prop to fall back on. In other words, there's no twist in the movie with a big murder. There's no sweeping, you were a Holocaust survivor. And not to diminish any of those movies, but at the same time, this movie was just about kind of
getting divorced.
It was a very average.
Yeah, it's very average white people getting divorced.
Yeah. And so in that case, you can't fall back on any huge story development or any visual.
You're well off, and it's kind of like, so you're supposed to feel sorry for them, but not really.
But it was kind of an interesting tale of this marriage sort of falling apart, and it really was like two stories. It was the marriage falling apart, but it was also them trying to come to some new form of family that they could live with.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they wanted to come together for their son, but it's like they got lawyers involved, and that tore everything apart.
Agreed. Yeah. It's a hard movie to watch because they love each other so much, but I feel like the more they love each other, the more divorced they are, but they're just trying to do for the son, which it can't work, but they want it to work, and it's a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought with Marriage Story, it was definitely there were some moments in there that I think if you've ever been through a bad breakup or you've just been in a relationship with somebody who you can't continue on with, there were some moments in there that felt very, very true, raw.
Yeah, they're very rough, especially that fight scene in the apartment. Yeah, it was very rough.
I think you had mentioned, Andrew, 1917. What was it about? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about the visual impact of that movie and some of the long tracking shots and the single takes.
I love the cinematography in that movie because it was supposed to be one single take, which I don't know if it really was, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. What about the story? Did that speak to you, the acting, the story?
I mean, the story was great. It was, another war movie, but so that wasn't really spectacular, but the cinematography to me was beautiful.
Okay. So for you, 1917 was more about more about the look than actually like getting to know a character and seeing an
You
art.
didn't really get to know the characters that much. It's like, they were, they were soldiers on a mission, and but just like the scenery and everything was beautiful.
What about you, 1917?
For me, I love the stories of the characters. Like there was like a brotherhood, but that ended, and one is trying so hard just to finish the story of the other soldier who dies. And like there's a scene where he runs into the forest, and there's another soldier just singing. And there's so many scenes in that movie that for me like really hit me, and like I feel like I haven't felt this way about a movie since like Frodo left the Shire and Return of the King. Like it was like I haven't felt that way since that movie, and it was really impactful for me. So I loved it.
And one of the things about 1917 is a lot of people said, wow, we've seen so many World War II movies. We've seen so many movies about Vietnam. This was a war that
We don't see a lot of World War I.
hadn't appeared on screen very much.
No, it was like I didn't really know a lot about that, especially when they were talking about building the bunkers. I was like, I went afterwards and went and Googled it because I was like, they were talking about how they had to build these bunkers, and I was like, they were so elaborate. I was like, for something built so quickly.
What other movies kind of jumped out at you, or you're going to keep your eye on tonight as the telecast kicks off?
I loved Jojo Rabbit, another World War II movie, or World War II. What else is out there? I feel like Little Women was awesome. Joker was great. Parasite. I think if I had to pick a next one after Joker would be Jojo Rabbit for me. Yeah. That's one I'm really excited about.
I saw that more than once in the theater, so.
Jojo Rabbit?
Yes, I saw it twice.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
What was it about that really spoke to you?
It was really cute. It was like, it's not just a war movie. It's just a story about a child growing up, and he's learning that like not everyone. He's a Nazi at the beginning, and then he learns that people are pretty much the same. There's not really much difference between people, and he can't hate Jews just because he thinks they're different. He learns that Jews are pretty much the same as he is.
I remember with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there was this thing where like Leonardo DiCaprio really wanted to play Brad Pitt's role. That was the role he was going for, but I think the director rightly said, the stunt double has to be a slightly older guy, a more physical guy. You look too much like the movie star to actually. They both do, but Brad Pitt is older. He's older. Oh, we don't like to be old in that respect. But I just thought that was interesting. Well, Melissa, Andrew, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for joining us. All right, I'll let you get back and watch the rest. Speaking of, there's Leonardo DiCaprio right there on the red carpet. So,
He did a good job too.
yeah, we definitely wish him luck tonight. All right, guys, thank you so much. All right. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to switch things up a little bit because I do want to talk a little bit about where we are, this beautiful, incredible theater that has just such a rich history here in Dallas. So I want to bring in Ashton, yes, and Rebecca, yes. All right, and you guys are with the Oak Cliff Film Festival, right? Tell me a little bit about how the film festival is able to put something like this on for folks here in DFW.
Well, the film festival is headquartered here at the Texas Theater. So a lot of our films are shown here at the theater, and we have a strong partnership with the team that runs the theater. So they were gracious enough to host us tonight to watch this show. And the Oak Cliff Film Festival is presenting the screening tonight. So we're selling ballots. People can guess who they think are going to win, and the proceeds from the ballots go to support our festival.
Awesome. Yeah. And let me just ask you, I mean, for folks who, maybe fairly new to DFW, talk a little bit about, this theater has such a rich history and is such a iconic part of Dallas.
Yeah, this theater's been here since 1931. It's obviously one of the claims to fame. Obviously, is Oswald, row 3, seat 5, right back over there. But yeah, it's a place that we really want people to come to more. sometimes Oak Cliff kind of gets left out of the conversations a little bit in Dallas stuff. So we want people to come out here, and like you said, it's very iconic. I mean, it's an old theater. Again, 1931. You're on Jefferson Boulevard. There's a ton of history here, and we try to do as much as we can to kind of preserve the building and the history, and not just tear it up and renovate it. It's a lot of it. There's a lot of authenticity here for sure.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Lee Harvey Oswald, after shooting President Kennedy, and then it was also after he had the confrontation with the police officer just a few blocks away in Oak Cliff, right? And then he came here to the theater, and was this where he was arrested?
Yeah, this is where he was arrested. He was caught in row 3, seat 5. It's not the original seat, but we do have a lot of people come in here from. I mean, I just opened the doors recently for somebody who was in town from Germany who they made a trip to Texas in Dallas, and they wanted to come to the Oak Cliff or the Texas Theater. Sorry, so they were knocking on the door, and we weren't open yet. And then, they were like, hey, can we just come inside and take a picture and just see the seats and everything like that? So it's kind of a cool global thing. We get like tourists that come in, and they do some tours down here as well. But yeah, it's row 3, seat 5, and this is where they got him. And there's the famous picture right behind the seat where the officer is standing there. I was like, we got him right here. And then walking out the theater during War is Hell. So.
And Rebecca, just tell me a little bit about, obviously a lot of people sitting at home, you can watch the Oscars at home on TV, but to sort of see the awards in a theater where, this is where you'll experience the actual movies.
Right. Well, and I think, with something like the Oscars, it is a very communal thing. Like everybody's going to be talking about who won and crazy stuff that happened tomorrow. So, it's, I think, a great thing that you can experience it with other people. Just like how going to see a movie in a theater is a very communal experience, and there's a different level of emotion and a different vibe that happens when you see it with other people. So it just seems appropriate that you would come and watch an award show about movies in a movie theater.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, was there any performance or movie that really spoke to you this year that said that you've got a rooting interest? Like you'd say, wow, I'd like to see that person recognized or that movie awarded.
Well, I guess if I could plug a film that's up for an award tonight that we screened last year at our festival, it's The Farewell, which was a really
film,
which was our closing night film last year and was a really great special film. And so it's great to see something like that recognized on such a broad stage here. So.
I want Parasite to win. I want Parasite to win Best Picture. I don't think it's going to. I really, really want it to. I think it's a fantastic film. It's gorgeous. In terms of somebody I'm rooting for, like an actual person, I want to see Brad Pitt get the Oscar. I think that I'm a huge Pitt fan, as basically a lot of people here. I think that's going to be a cool moment. You're talking about the communal aspect of this. I think if he wins, there's going to be a lot of people cheering and clapping. I think he's going to get a big standing ovation there. I think there'll be a lot of people here. And it'll spur, talk afterward, or maybe he didn't deserve it. Somebody has. So, they have those conversations in the lobby and everything like that. So I think those are kind of cool moments that the watching parties kind of bring. But I'm rooting for Pitt. I want Brad to win an Oscar.
It was interesting for that movie, too, for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. DiCaprio wanted that role. He wanted the stuntman role. And obviously, when you see the two of them together, side by side, Brad Pitt was probably more appropriate for that role. A little bit older, a little bit more rugged than DiCaprio, who still has that classic movie star face.
Yeah, he does have a bit of that handsome boy look.
I think Leo's more of a pretty boy, I think, and Brad can pull off the rugged, guy who's going to fix your roof, which is basically he's doing it. He takes his shirt off and everybody's like, yeah. So I might have clapped too. But so I think that there's definitely, I think it's interesting that you said that about Leo wanting that role, because I think he could have pulled it off because he's a fantastic actor. But yeah, it was definitely more of a Pitt role, rugged dude than Leo's pretty boy. Sorry, Leo.
No, and it was just such a fascinating piece of history, because it was that old studio system, that old LA starting to slip away, and then right before that wave in the 70s and the traffic and these incredible directors who changed Hollywood. It's like a sliver in time for at Hollywood that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was definitely a film made by cinephiles for cinephiles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a perfect movie for a guy like Tarantino, who appreciates all of that, to do. And I mean, a lot of directors could have pulled it off, but I think that he did it in a way that really, he wanted to preserve all that stuff. The Cinerama shot especially, I think, is really iconic, and it's perfect for him. So.
All right, I'll let you guys get back. Rebecca, thank you so much. Ashton, thanks so much. Thank you so much, guys, for having us here again. We're here at the Texas Theater. Thank you to the Oak Cliff Film Festival for having us out here. I worked a couple Oscar telecasts when I was working in LA, so we had to cover it, and we'd be in that line. When you see the folks on the red carpet, that's the official broadcast. So they're hired by ABC. They have access to the whole red carpet. They can walk around. They can talk to the stars. But what you sometimes don't see is this line of people in the bleachers, which is all of the other reporters, and they're all jammed up there trying to get as many interviews as they can. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live, and hope you enjoy the Academy Awards tonight. We'll hope to see you back here again at 10 o'clock. Have a great night.